Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back on their Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today taking a look at a deluxe release and a recent release. It is the Jedi Master Kelnacca from the Acolyte. Specifically, I think as he appeared in the flashbacks because he's in an outfit that he never wore in the current time of the show, and he's also doesn't have all like the aging that he had in the show either. So this is based on like, man, one or a few scenes in the show when there was flashbacks and he appeared, and I think also apparently Kelnacca has appeared in some of the High Republic comics, and he looks like this, so I guess it works for that too. But yeah, I know that The Acolyte isn't the most popular show among fans. I enjoyed it. You know, it wasn't like perfect by any means. I'm not going to get into all that. But Kanaka definitely interested me as a figure. I don't care much for the character because there's not much to the character. But even if you're not like an Acolyte fan, it's just a Wookiee Jedi Master. It's just a cool figure. I don't think they've ever done a Jedi Wookiee as a figure before. I don't think they ever did one in the Ultra into Quarter Inch or anything either. Not that there's very many characters you could do, but there were a few. I don't think they ever did any, so it's kind of interesting. But yes, this is a deluxe release. He is a bit bigger. A lot of new tooling here. It's definitely not the worst deluxe release in terms of being worth the price point. I don't really regret buying it or anything like that. But anyways, we'll get into all that. But let's first take a look at the figure. Like I said, this is pretty much all new sculpting. I think there's only like one. We'll take a closer look, but I think there's only like a couple pieces that are reuse. But the head sculpt, I think, looks really nice actually. The printing for the eyes and the teeth and all that, I think look really good. And the nose and the paint on just the whole head sculpt in general is all sculpted and painted really nicely. You've got the sculpt and painted details of the little things that are braided into his hair there, which is cool. And you've got another like ponytail like braid on the top. And on the sides of his head, he's actually got like these markings or tattoos or something. I don't know if they're tattoos or not because it looks like he still has hair. Like, even though it looks like a lot closer shaved hair, he still has hair on the side, and so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But maybe they're tattoos, I'm not entirely sure. But they're both different on each side, so that's pretty cool detail. And you got a bit more of the braiding on the back of the head as well. And the head sculpt is quite large. There's a lot of hair and fur and whatnot. I do like how it fades into a darker brown at the edges. That's super cool. And it's a bit light gray around his mouth and right at the top, but not as gray as it is when we see him in the present day in the show, because he's a lot more older. This is him when he's a little younger, I guess. But it's a really good head sculpt. Obviously, as you can tell, it's going to hinder a lot of articulation at the neck, but it does look really good. The rest of the figure, as you can see, he does utilize a soft goods robe. I think it works pretty well. It sits pretty naturally and flows pretty naturally on the figure, so I think it looks pretty good. Made of a decent material, like all the other Acolyte Jedi figures, and I am happy that all the Jedi figures from the Acolyte, they've all given them soft goods robes. They haven't cheaped out there, so that is nice. But it fits him pretty well. Looks good. It doesn't have a functioning hood. It is sewn down just like all the others. You could cut that, I guess, but it's not really meant to be a functional hood, so I don't think it would look good. But I suppose you could do that if you want. But let's just pull off the robe just so we can get a closer look at the figure. Yeah, there we go. So you can get a closer look, and you got the bare arms there. Like I said, I do believe this figure is pretty much all new sculpting. Looks pretty good. You got the darker brown that then fades into the lighter brown at the hands. The hands are new. They use the newer style ball jointed wrists, and I don't think any of the other Wookiee figures use those. Chrysanthemum might, but his are different sculpts because he has the knuckle dusters sculpted onto his hands. So those look pretty good. He does have the High Republic Jedi tunic with the like cream color and the yellow on there, which looks nice. This is actually, I believe, an overlay. Yeah, because if you can lift up the head, you can see his fur underneath. So they did make this an overlay, so which is kind of cool. The belt is nicely painted and detailed. I like the Jedi Order belt buckle symbol there. That's cool. No lower soft goods on the robes. It's just plastic, but there are cuts, and it is a pretty flexible plastic, so it will get out of the way. For the most part, some pouch, and I like how the buckles and whatnot on the belt are painted as well. And the legs, again, I believe are brand new. They don't look the same as previous figures. Mainly Chrysanthemum. I would have thought if they're going to do any reuse, it'd be from Chrysanthemum, but they didn't reuse the arms because he's got these really large cut elbow joints that Chrysanthemum doesn't have, and the legs look different as well. I think the only thing that is reused is actually the feet. I do think the feet are from Chrysanthemum, but everything else is new as far as I can tell. But I suppose I could be wrong. But looks pretty good. And deep cuts there for the joints. I do like how the joints have the sculpted detail so it doesn't break up the sculpt and the look too much. That's always nice. In terms of articulation, there is a joint at the neck. Like I said, it is going to be hindered a decent amount, but you can still get them looking side to side. Can't really get them looking up and down too much though, and there's not really any pivot you're going to get. There's just nothing you can really do. It does have butterfly joints, and you can actually move his arms in quite a bit. I'm pretty impressed with how far those go in. So that's good. And no other Wookiee figure from Black Series has that. Then you have your normal swivel and hinge at the shoulder there. Hinges at the elbows go actually past 90, which is really good. Because of these large hinge joint cuts. And like I mentioned previously, he does have the new ball and socket style wrist. There's not a ton of movement in there, but they work okay. Then you have a joint at the waist. It does like the click. I never like it when they design the joints like that, but once you start moving it, it's not clicking as much anymore, and it will go crunch forward an okay amount, back just a little bit of pivot, but mainly rotation. Hip joints kick out about that far, not bad, and pretty decent spread. Not really much extra room at the hip joint, so you don't really get much of any thigh swivel or anything like that. Single hinge at the knee that I would say goes slightly past 90 and rotates, of course. And then you have hinges at the ankles, which you actually can get the feet up a decent amount because there is a cut. The way they sculpted the fur, they left a gap for the joint to have some room there, which is cool. They don't hinge down too far. There is actually a rotation there at that joint. And then there's also a rocker for pivot. So decent articulation. It's probably the best articulated Wookiee figure we've gotten so far. So it would be nice to see these pieces reused for other Wookiees. Maybe Chewbacca. I'm not sure. Chewbacca might need to be a few changes to make him not look quite the same. But I could definitely see them reusing a decent amount of this body for Chewbacca. It'd be cool to get a General Tarful from Revenge of the Sith. That'd be cool as well. In terms of accessories, you already saw the soft goods robe. You can count that. It also comes with his lightsaber. It is a larger lightsaber like they did with Balin, even though it made no sense for Balin. And technically, it doesn't make sense for Kelnacca either. In the show, you can see he's got a normal-sized lightsaber. And also in the show, when Jeki is dual-wielding with Kelnacca's lightsaber, she's as small as it is, and it's not overly massive in her hands. It's just a normal size. So it's not accurately sized. However, it doesn't bother me that much because I'm not going to have any other characters wielding it. And the large size of it does fit with Kelnacca because he's a larger character, where it looked really goofy on the Balin figure because he was undersized. This one, he's large, and the larger blade I think at least looks good with this figure itself. But yeah, that might bother you. I don't know. You could maybe find another blade that's shorter and that might work. I'm not sure. But I do like the green of the blade. It looks really nice. You can remove the blade, and then the hilt is cast in this gold plastic, I believe. And then you get a little bit of this brown detailing, but it looks nice. You can plug it to his belt, which works pretty well. Looks good. And then, of course, we plug the blade in. You can get him to hold it, and he holds it really well. And you can actually get him into a pretty decent two-handed pose because of those butterflies and the wrist joints and everything, and the elbows not being terrible. It's pretty easy to get him into a two-handed pose with the lightsaber, which I would honestly say no other Wookiee figure that Hasbro's currently made in the Black Series would be able to do this, so that's pretty cool. Taking him back down there for now. Lastly, we will end off with some comparison. So I guess first off, just with other Wookiee figures, here he is with the very first Wookiee mold they ever did, which is the Chewbacca mold, but this is Zalbar, but basically the same figure. All those, now I'm thinking about it, Zalbar might be slightly shorter than the Chewbacca mold. I'm actually not sure. Anyways, you can see they're close to the same height. This figure is a bit taller. I guess I have them in a bit of a wider stance. But they look cool together. This figure definitely, the fur looks a lot nicer and articulates way better. And then with another more recent figure, here is the Deluxe Black Chrysanthemum, whom is a bit stockier looking, but Kelnacca is a bit taller, not by much, but he's a bit. But these look pretty good. Chrysanthemum was a pretty good deluxe figure. I like this Zalvar, but he's not the best. You can see they don't use the same pieces. The thighs, it's a little hard to tell, I guess, but the thighs, upper legs are different. The lower legs are different. Mainly you can tell around the ankles, although the feet do look like they are the same sculpt. It's hard to say though, they're pretty close, but they do look very similar. I would say they're probably the same. The fur is kind of sitting the same way. And the arms are different because Chrysanthemum doesn't have as deep of a elbow bend. But they look good together. I like them. All right, so, oh, I guess one last thing is just with a few Jedi characters from the Acolyte. Here is Sol. And here's a bit more recent one. Here is Venestra. And I think he looked really good among the other High Republic Jedi that they've done in the Black Series so far. But overall, I do think this is a pretty good release. If you're interested in having a Jedi Wookiee or you're collecting the Acolyte figures, I definitely think it's worth the pickup. Maybe wait for a sale. It's hard to say. Deluxes, it's super hard to say what will sit around for a while and what will not. I would personally say probably wait for at least a little bit of a sale. Definitely makes it more worth it, but I think it's definitely one of the better Deluxes. I really gotta say, Hasbro's kind of been killing it with the Deluxes so far this year. They've all felt at least relatively worth it, and I don't think Kelnacca is an exception there. He's got pretty good paint, pretty much all new sculpting, good articulation, soft goods robe. You know, it's the reality of Hasbro figures anyways, but you could do worse for Deluxe from Hasbro. So I think it's a great figure, and if you're interested, I recommend it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know anything down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.